19 and a half years. That's how long Limbus Company needs to tell its story. One game, not a franchise, just one game with a 19-year runway. After 30 years in gaming, I have learned to read patterns, and I have watched those same patterns kill Halo, bury Mass Effect, and turn Destiny 2 into a memorial, while it was still technically running. Limbus Company is destined to fail. Don't believe me? Stay right there. Let's talk about what a vision looks like before it falls apart. And let's start with Halo Combat Evolved. Bungie hands you everything you need to understand about that universe in about 4 hours. The Covenant, the Flood, the Forerunners, the Master Chief in a suit of armor carrying an entire war on his back. The vision was clean, the story had weight. You knew exactly what it was. The original trilogy finished that story. It earned its ending. Halo 4 was fine, technically competent, not bad. But it wasn't quite Halo. Something in the handoff, the soul that Bungie built, didn't survive the transition. What made the original trilogy work was that it knew when to stop. The moment it kept going past that point, it started becoming something else, something mid. And mid for a franchise built on that foundation is a quiet form of collapse. Mass Effect, on the other hand, did not have that excuse. BioWare built one of the most ambitious narrative trilogies in gaming history. 3 games, 1 arc, a clear defined endpoint. The Reapers are coming, and you stop them or you don't. It was clean, and they almost pulled it off until they didn't. Mass Effect 3 ending didn't just disappoint players, it broke promises made by BioWare. The backlash was so severe that fans literally petitioned for a new ending. Well, they got one, but it didn't really fix anything. Then they brought out Andromeda, and it tried to start fresh and found out that once your trust is broken, you can't reset it by giving someone a shiny new game with a spackling of new paint. But I get it, both of those are franchises with multiple games and multiple opportunities for the vision to get diluted. How about World of Warcraft? That is one game, 20 plus years in the making, way closer to Project Moon's Limbus Company. Just one game. And I need you to sit with that because I was there for a significant chunk of it. World of Warcraft launched in 2004 with Azeroth feeling like a real, living place. 20 years of RTS history gave this world weight. Players had roots. I had roots. Wrath of the Lich King was, and I will die on this hill, the peak of that game's storytelling. The Lich King was a character with history, with tragedy, with a reason to exist that connected all the way back to Warcraft 3. The story worked up to him, and it felt earned. And then something started to shift. By Mists of Pandaria, 7 years and 9 months after World of Warcraft launched, I had stopped reading quest text. I wasn't following the story anymore, I was just playing. The world still had me, the loop still had me. But the reason I had started playing had quietly died somewhere between Wrath and Pandaria, without me even noticing it go. There was no sudden realization, just a slow narrative collapse and what it actually feels like from the inside. You don't notice it until it's already gone. Then Blizzard announced Warlords of Draenor, a what-if timeline, an alternate history that retconned characters I had spent years with, pulled them out of their established arcs, and dropped them into a scenario that fundamentally sucked. Whole redemption arcs ruined, villains revived, and I walked away. Because the game stopped being the game I had started playing. The vision had been replaced with something that looked like the vision, but it wasn't. 7 years and 9 months. That's when I stopped caring about the story. Not 20 years in, less than halfway through what WoW's actual run was. And then there's the modern news. There's Destiny 2 right now. Not 10 years ago, right now. This year, Bungie will officially end Destiny 2's live service. A universe with some of the most compelling sci-fi lore in recent history. A player base that genuinely and deeply loved it. The seasonal content model demanded constant engagement. The story became impossible to track without a spreadsheet. The content vault locked players out of content they had already paid for. When players finally walked, Bungie had nothing to really catch their attention with anymore. This is 4 giants and 4 collapses for 4 completely different reasons, but one pattern underneath all of them. And I hear you. Those are Western studios, Alden. Project Moon is different. Ji-Hoon actually cares about what he's building. And you know what? You're right, he does. The writing in Limbus Company right now is some of the best storytelling in the gacha game space, and it's not close. The characters have weight, the world has logic, the narrative direction is specific in a way most live service games never manage. I'm not here to tell you the game is bad. I'm here to show you a pattern that does not care how good your developer is. Because here is the crack that talent and intention cannot fix. 36 Cantos. If Dante gets one, 39 Cantos. At one every 6 months. That is 19 and a half years for one game, with no sequel, no spin-off. The same game running on a live service model inside of a gacha economy built by a small Korean indie studio for longer than some people watching this have been alive. Blizzard had WoW, full infrastructure, one of the largest gaming companies on the planet behind it, and even with all that, WoW could not maintain narrative cohesion across 2 decades. Project Moon is not Blizzard, and I mean that as a compliment. Project Moon's current output is humiliating Blizzard's writing on a regular basis. But writing talent does not solve a structural problem, and this is a structural problem. If this is the kind of breakdown that made you stop scrolling, hit subscribe, like the video, and hype it up while you're at it, because, you know, I can do more of this, or I can do more of the what your favorite thing says about you. This one takes more research and more time to edit out, and I really like to bring you guys what you guys want. I know this isn't quite what you guys wanted, because I'm talking possibly bad about your favorite game, but give me some time to cook, actually pay attention to what's going on, and we'll see if you agree with me or disagree with me as we continue. With that being said, let me show you exactly what this pattern looks like, because it's not just about time. Every one of these giants started with a vision so specific it felt almost personal. The Reapers in Mass Effect were not just villains, they were a philosophical argument. What happens when synthetic and organic life can no longer coexist, and a civilization chooses extinction over negotiation? Halo's Master Chief was not just a protagonist, he was an argument about sacrifice, what you give up to build a weapon instead of a person. WoW's Azeroth wasn't just a map, it was 20 years of RTS lore given physical form. Every zone had a reason to exist. When those visions are tight, the game feels cohesive. Every piece of content earns its place because it serves a larger structure. The problem is that a live service game cannot afford to stay locked into a singular vision for 19 years. The business model demands novelty. Players need new content, new characters, new systems to spend on, and every time you add something new, you are pulling at the threads of the original tapestry. Do it enough and that tapestry isn't there anymore, it's just a pile of thread on the ground with a familiar logo stamped on that box. Limbus Company's current Cantos work because the vision is still intact. Ji-Hoon knows exactly where the story is going. The threads are all connected. 19 and a half years from now, that same studio will be trying to maintain narrative coherence across 4 times the content it currently has, while managing a live service economy that punishes standing still. Mass Effect didn't have to worry about whether players would keep playing to see the ending. You bought the game, you own the story. The Reapers were coming whether EA liked the quarterly numbers or not. Limbus Company does not have that luxury. Every Canto exists inside of a gacha ecosystem. New identities need to drop. Events need to keep players logging in. The monetization has to keep the lights on at Project Moon Studios. and that studio has to stay funded for nearly 2 decades. What happens in year 12 when the early player base has thinned out, when the people who were there from the beginning have moved on? The narrative has to pull in new players from the middle of a 20-year story while still retaining the ones who have been there from the start. WoW tried this exact balancing act. Their solution was to keep raising the level cap, which meant every expansion effectively diluted everything that came before it. Wrath of the Lich King is still talked about as the peak of WoW storytelling. It is also right now functionally irrelevant. Not because it was bad, but because the game had to keep moving forward. And forward in a live service game means leaving the past behind. Right now, Limbus Company is actually doing this balancing act pretty well with how they set up their you can't level past a certain part, so you get through a certain Canto, and you have to get through the story to get into the future. But it's starting to show the power creep effect that a lot of MMOs and a lot of gacha games have been showing. Not quite to the degree of other gacha games, but they are starting to show. And this isn't just about games. Movie franchises and comics have tried this also. The MCU spent 10 years building towards Endgame. 23 films, hundreds of characters, one coherent arc, and it was barely holding together by the time it landed. After Endgame, with the Infinity Saga complete, the thread snapped almost immediately. Phase 4 felt directionless. Phase 5 became a conversation about what went wrong rather than excitement about what was coming. And that was Disney with Kevin Feige leading the project. The most well-funded franchise operation in film history, and even they could not maintain narrative cohesion once the original vision was fulfilled. Limbus Company has not reached its endgame yet. It's not even close. It's somewhere in the equivalent of Phase 1, and it needs to hold that cohesion together, not for 10 years, for 19 and a half. I want to be precise about this. The cracks I'm describing are not in the writing. They're not in Project Moon's capability. They're in the math, and this game may not be able to outrun the math. Look, the game is still good, putting out peak after peak right now. I know that, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise just to win an argument. But I've been in the scene long enough that I've seen this exact moment before. I've felt it before. Most of you probably haven't spent much time in MMORPGs, but this is exactly where World of Warcraft was, and I wasn't just watching from the outside, I was in it. I was one of the players running Icecrown Citadel, thinking the game was untouchable. I was the guy who didn't notice the story dying until I was already in Pandaria, going through the motions, logging hours, without caring why. 7 years and 9 months. That's how long it took before the story was lost to me. In a game I genuinely loved. Built by one of the largest gaming companies in the world, with more resources than Project Moon will likely ever have. Limbus Company needs 19 and a half years. And I'm not telling you it's going to collapse the way WoW collapsed publicly, you know. I'm telling you something quieter and more honest than that. I'm telling you that there will be a Mr. Pandaria moment for a lot of you. There will be a point somewhere in year 8 or year 12 when you're still playing, but the reason you started playing will have quietly left without saying goodbye. 19 and a half years from now, I'll be in my 50s, still in the comments yelling about Cantos and if the story's still good, and arguing with you guys if I'm still making this content, and most of you who are watching this now won't be playing. Here's what I want you to take from this. This is not a eulogy. Limbus Company is not dead. It might be arguably the best thing Project Moon has ever made. Ji-Hoon's vision is real and is being executed at a level most studios cannot touch. None of that is the argument. The argument is this: talent does not beat math. Vision does not beat time. Halo had Bungie, Mass Effect had BioWare, Destiny 2 had the same studio that made Halo, and it ends its live service this year while players were still in it. Every single one of them started exactly where Limbus Company is right now. At the peak, with a plan, with a team that cared, with a community that believed it was still being built. 19.5 years from now, we'll find out if this one was different. And I genuinely hope it is. If this breakdown hit the way I intended, like and subscribe, and come argue with me in Discord. All the links are down below. And like always, guys, remember, be good to each other. See you in the next video. Peace.